Good morning to all of my friends in the US and good evening to all of my friends in Vietnam. Thanks for being here. Welcome to another episode of Lit in English. Thank you for joining us today. And again, the goal, the mission for this Zoom call is to create an environment where we can practice our English, where we can share this great knowledge, this great information, and hopefully we will be able to spread it to every corner of the world because we believe that everyone deserves to be happy, everyone deserves to have a wholesome, a holistic life, and together we will be able to do this. All right. So just a quick recap on what we have been going through in the past few days. And this is actually season two of Lit in English. So each season we will come back, we will go back to the beginning so that we can revisit some of the principles, some of the idea. And in that way, when we have new friends that come in and join us, they will get to learn about these amazing principle and theory. And it is also a very good way for us to revisiting these knowledge and refresh it so that we can constantly remind ourselves. All right. So on our first day, we went over the six barriers. And the importance of the six barriers is it help us define, it help us name the barriers that all of us experience when we start to have idea, when we have the desire to do something like being fit, for example, being healthy. But if we are waiting too long to take action, then we often started to making excuses, and that stop us from doing what we know we should do deep down. And on that day, we was able to figure out that the most important things that we can do for ourselves is to have vision. Just like Mr. Roger Bannister, we should focus on our end goal. And the importance of breaking through the six barriers is not only for ourselves, but for people around us, for our family and loved one. Because in the case of Mr. Roger Bannister, he not only able to break through his barriers, but he was proved that it was possible to run 1 mile under 4 minutes. And from that, the entire world was able to um, break through their limiting belief, their fear of failure, fear of judgment, lack of prerequisites, lack of knowledge, lack of vision. Hello, Jesse. Thanks for joining us. I know you have a lot of homework and you still making it here. Thank you. All right. So the first day was the one about the six barriers. And by the way, during the presentation, feel free to interact on the chat if you have any lesson that you would like to share, or if you have any question that you would like to ask. Feel free to raise your hand, or you can just share it on the chat. And the second day was actually yesterday. And yesterday we introduced the very first principle, which is also my personal favorite principle. And I also believe that it is the most important one. And it is called the principle of light. So when we introduce the six barriers, we don't want to leave you just with all of the problem, right? We want to give you the solution as well, because the sixth barrier, the barriers that surrounding us, surrounding the little person right here, the figure stick person, um, it's kind of like an egg, right? It's like a chicken egg. So if we are making an impact from the outside in, then that means we're about to use it at food. However, if the food is coming from the inside out, then that is life. And the one of the main reasons that we are doing this because we want to provide you the tool and the information so that you can grow from the inside out, so that you can have the transformation. And the principle of light is one of the very first one that will help you do that. So imagine it is like imagine your inner self. You might start it out as like a dark room where you are unable to see anything. That the principle of light can light up, can lit up that light from deep inside of you. And instead of focusing on the darkness, how to get rid of the darkness, we uh, we do a simple move, a simple action is to turn on the light, bring light into the dark room, and we will be able to solve any problem, any issue. So that is one of the very first principle that can help us. And then a good example of doing this is that instead of instead of worrying about our health, instead of feeling bad about how we might not look the way that we want or feel the way that we truly want, that is focusing on darkness. That is trying to get rid of the darkness. So, on the contrary to that, what we want to do, we want to focus on the right outcome, the outcome that we want, like being beautiful, being healthy, having a lot of energy. We would focus on how to eat healthier, going to the gym, and we will have the clear image of us achieving that goal. Just like Mr. Roger Bannister, he was focusing on the end goal that he will make it to the finishing line before the 4 minutes mark. And that is the principle of life. And yesterday we also introduced you to the idea of your house. So if you simplify all problem or all things in life, you we will be able to simplify it to only four categories, and that is your inner self, your health, your relationship, and your finance. And there is a great connection, interconnected between these four categories. And this is extremely important because understanding this, it will be easier for us to work on all four at the same time rather than just working on one and trying to be good at it, right? So I know that for our Zoom call, for our presentation, we are focused a lot on inner self. And it is extremely important because inner self is like the foundation of the house. And in order to build a tall building, right? Let's say 2-story, 3-story house, or if you dream big like I do, I would like to build a skyscraper, a tall building that had like 20 floors, 30 floors, even 100 floors. And in order to build a strong house like that, you have to have a strong foundation. And it is easier to work on all four. And yesterday, I uh, I have shared the story of Mr. Donald Trump of how he was a billionaire in the 70 and the 80. He still is a billionaire now, but his the story that was told is that because of the real estate market, which Mr. Trump invested heavily on, was collapsing, and because of that, he had lost his $1 billion, and he was in debt in the amount close to a billion, and that is insane. But he didn't give up. He know who he is. He know what he is capable of, and he had a very strong inner self. He was healthy then. He know he had great relationship, and he know he had a great understanding of finance, and he know his levels. So combining these four, Mr. Trump was able to make a comeback from that, and he made up his mind. He applied the principle of light rather than focusing on the loss in the amount of $1 billion. I know $1 billion is a lot, so if you can like comprehend like how large uh of the amount of money that is. Just imagine everything you own, right? Every single thing that you have. Not only you no longer have any of them, but you actually own money to the bank in the same amount. And that was exactly what happened to Mr. Trump. But he was able to utilize the principle of light. So instead of focusing on his losses, he started to lit up from the inside. He started to find out what can he do to gain back everything that he used to own before. And he have a very clear image that if he was able to make it before, he will be able to do it again. And only only 6 months later, 6 months after he made that conscious decision, he was able to sign one of the biggest real estate contract ever existed back then. And only 3 years from that, he was able to make $3 billion from that one project. And he came back on top, and he had like and many other achievement um, after that. And and that showed the importance of working on all four category at the same time, because it will be better. Your health will be more stable. And today we are going to go in even deeper, right? I'm going to provide you even more information of how to build an even stronger house. Because if uh, if anybody here familiar with the story of Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, he even though he is very successful, he and a lot of people love him, but there are people who doesn't like him neither, and they have a good reason for it. And if you were to look at his life, he might have a very good finance, right? But he was divorced, and not just once, but a couple of times. And he had fallout relationship with his friends. And if you look at his health, he's not the healthiest person, right? And if you look at his inner self, is not necessarily that he uh, he have a strong inner self, because a lot of time we can still see that he have a big ego. He want to be known. He want to come out on top, like arguing with people, yelling at people. So as successful as Mr. Donald Trump is, he's still not quite achieving that holistic life, that holistic wealth. And the story of Mr. Trump losing that $1 billion, and later on he was facing many hardship. He was able to make it through all of that. But my point is, we need to have a better approach. We need to work on all four of the category. And if anyone pay attention to my drawing yesterday on the lit house, right, you will see that I actually introduced the seven part of the lit house, that we have seven candle in here that can help keeping the house together. Because just like any other skyscraper, right? If you look at any skyscraper in your city, you're not gonna see like a room just randomly built um, outside of the foundation, because it will fall that out. So it is extremely important to know what these seven element is, and to lead it up with our principle of light, and that is today's topic. And let me write some the title on it so we can get started. And today's topic will be the seven holistic wealth. Uh, seven holistic wealth. All right. This is extremely important. Let's go back to the lit how very quickly. As I mentioned earlier, as successful as Mr. Trump is, he's still going through a lot of hardship. He still have to face his darkness almost all the time. And that is the exact reason why we need to lit up our inner self so that we can protect ourselves. And this is also the exact reason why we have to understand the six barriers, namely kind of like a chicken egg that I mentioned earlier, right? Because if we if the impact is coming from the outside in, then we will be treated like food. And that's what happened to Mr. Trump too. He had $1 billion. His wealth was kind of like food to the outside because the food was coming from the outside. But as soon as he's realized that he can be in control, he can start making some changes where the force, the impact from the inside out, that when he find life. And it's very important for us to work on four of the category. It is very important for us to work on the seven holistic wealth, because if we don't break through these barriers consciously to giving ourselves life, then the world will break us. And generally, people tend to change after they experience suffering, just like Mr. Donald Trump did. However, we do not have to experience that. But you know what? If you don't change, then the worst kind of suffering will come for them. And if they still do not change, then losses will get them to change. So we why do we have to wait for pain and suffering and losses to motivate us to change? Why can't we just love ourselves and respect ourselves? And I'll tell you what, there are many other billionaires in the world that we don't even heard of. And they understood this. They understood the importance of working on all four categories. They understood the importance of lit up the seven holistic wealth, because having that seven holistic wealth, it will protect them. It will be the force from the inside out that will give them life. So I would like to invite you to draw with me the uh, the seven holistic wealth. All right, so let's do that. Let's draw a house just like what we have yesterday, but we are going to make it a little bit bigger so that we can fit the seven holistic wealth in there. All right. And at the bottom, we will write the word inner self. And on the left hand side, let's write the word health. On the right hand side, we will write the word relationship. Relationship. Right. And then let's draw some dollar sign here so that people can see that we are talking about money and we also talking about finance. Ooh, let's fix it here, finance. There. All right. And then let's draw a hexagon right at the center. Connect it to the house. This is how we are keeping the house together. And I know for our YouTube channel, we don't have this picture. So if you can reach out to us, we can provide you that. I uh, I recommend you to just join us on our Zoom call. That way we can have interaction. That's why you can ask your question directly as well. And doing that, all of us can have a better, greater understanding of this. Okay. So at the center of the house, let's write the word virtue. Virtue. All right. And just underneath, let's write the word wisdom. Then up top, we will write the word material. And when I write material, it is like a noun, which means that it's a material thing. That is like your house, your car, your clothes, the physical thing that you own. All right, so that's 3 out of 7. The other four is very, very interesting because as you can see, if we look at inner cell, it's kind of like connect with wisdom. And if we look at finance, money is directly connect to material. So there's a very strong and direct connection. But for the four corner here, it is almost like a combination between the two. So for health and finance, I would like you to thinking about the word physique. Physi, and then Q-U-E. And on the right, the top right, let's write the word capability. Capability. And don't worry if it's a little bit smaller and harder to read because later on I will write it on a bigger piece of paper. And on the bottom left, let's write the word presence. And on the bottom right, it is nobility. All right. And similar to yesterday, let us call this the lit house. And I'm calling this the lit house, but it is your house, you know, it is your inner self. And we keep the word lit so that we can remind ourselves to lit it up to light it up, because that's what we want. We want the principle of light. We want to shine some light on it, right? Because light will help create life, and we want that. Okay, so this is the seven holistic wealth. This is what will help us work on all four of the most important category at the same time. We will be able to work on our health. We will be able to work on our inner self. We will be able to work on our relationship, and we will be able to work on our finance, right? And once we materialize those four things, the uh, the seven holistic well will be able to keep together. And when we constantly work on these seven, we will know right away which one of the seven holistic well we will need to work on in order to keep our holistic life, our wholesome life together, right? Because we don't want to have to go through what Mr. Trump had to go through. We don't have to wait for suffering, or we don't have to wait for pain to change us. We make that conscious choice so that our life can be fulfilling. We can be happy almost all the time, right? Why wait for pain and suffering to change us when we can make the conscious choice to love ourselves, to love people around us, to make the change that we need, right? And if you and during all of our presentation, eventually our goal is to define and make it very clear and easy to understand what these seven holistic wealth is. And you can even look up the definition for these seven holistic wealth. For example, wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is simply the body of knowledge and principle that develop within a specific society or period. And this is huge, okay? Because just imagine if we look back at the six barriers, one of the barrier is lack of knowledge. Okay, so imagine if you have all of the wisdom in the world. Okay, that is actually one of my one of the superpower that I wanted to have when I was younger. Because when I don't know if you was ever asked of this, but when I was younger, my friends often ask me like what kind of superhero you want to be, what kind of superpower do you want to have? And I simply just want knowledge. I just want you to know things. I want to have a greater understanding of the universe. And for some reason, when I was young, but I still want to know things around us. And I know that I can be super wealthy, super powerful if I have all of the knowledge in the world. So wisdom is actually a representation of all knowledge in the world, as far as you can imagine. So I know it is huge, but I don't want to get us like way too over our head. But just imagine, right? Just use the example of Mr. Donald Trump, for example. He uh, he had wisdom in real estate investment, and that's part of the reason he was so successful at it. He understood what real estate is, and he also had the relationship, and he was able to materialize the money, because in order to buy and sell real estate, you have to work with other people, right? So somewhat he had to expand to nobility as well. But the foundation of it all is wisdom. It starts with the information, right? So that is just an example of how powerful just one out of the seven holistic wealth is. And one of the holistic wealth that I love the most, and we explore this in great detail in season one as well, and that is present. And this season, I want to focus on present as well, just because it is so important that we we have to mention it, and it's just easier for us to start out with it, because we all know that we need to have a physical health, right? And we need to have a um, like a mental health, not like crazy, but once you feel strong and when you have a clear mind, right, you can do great things. And present is a very, very powerful word, because let's say if, well, World Cup just ended. So let's say Ronaldo, right? Uh, he is like one of the greatest football player in the world right now. He makes the most money, tall, handsome guy, beautiful body. So imagine if Ronaldo was to walk in the room right now. Okay, imagine that he just appeared. You can feel his presence. You can feel the energy. You can, well, first of all, you see like a beautiful person appear, and then he's appeared to be very energetic, very healthy. So you can feel the physical health. So you can feel that first, and then you know that he taken care of himself. He feel good about himself. He had the certain success, and we have some information about him. So his present is a very successful football player or a very successful soccer player. But that is not where the presence ends. Okay. When you master presence, you will be able to becoming anything, just like water. Okay. Water can be gentle. Water can be a great force that can break through rock. And I don't know if everyone here familiar with water pressure, but in the US, they have a water pressure machine that they use to clean like driveway. And under the right amount of pressure, they can actually use water to cut metal. Okay, so if you use water, you just like splash it on like your wall or something. It's not going to damage the wall. But under great pressure, the water can cut through metal. Presence can do something very similar, right? For example, like right now, I am presenting the seven holistic wealth. So in my mind, what I do is that I clear my mind. I don't think of anything else but a presenter of the seven holistic wealth. I have a clear focus on it. So having presence is not just being there. Having present is an ability to to focus, just like the precious water. We focus fully on being something, and that is when you have the most result. And let me tell you a secret. And let's continue to use the story of Mr. Donald Trump, just so it's easier to relate on. The story of him losing his 1 billion, there was a reason for it. It wasn't because of bad luck. It wasn't just because of the market. You see, like Mr. Donald Trump, he was a very successful real estate business owner, but he also spent a lot of time partying. He spent a lot of time in other projects, and he started to lose his presence in real estate. Because if you ever invest in real estate, you know that when the market crashed, right, when the market went bad, it is actually a great opportunity to invest. Just like Warren Buffett said, when everybody scared, then that is the best time to make the investment. So yes, a lot of people was losing money, but a lot of people was making a tons of money as well. So when Donald Trump lost his billion, he kind of lost his presence in that field, and it took him a while to realize that. And and the moment that he made up his mind that he need to start having presence in that field again, okay, instead of giving up like many of his friends, he make a very, very conscious choice that he is going to make it. He is going to make his money back from real estate. And he was able to do it. He was able to sign one of the largest business deal, real estate deal at that time. Only 6 months after he made that conscious decision, after he decides that he is going to have the presence in the real estate industry. And only 3 years after that, he made it $3 billion. He made his money back. And just like Jesse wrote here, cultivating the present of ourselves. And this is very, very powerful. So when I introduce to you the seven holistic wealth, I'm not just giving you seven names. Okay. There's a very powerful, very respectable information of it. And together on this journey, we will explore all of it. And together we will share this amazing knowledge to everyone who have a great karma connection with us. And this is amazing. And I know I talk big, and because it is big, I spent most of my life studying billionaire, studying meaning of life. And let me tell you, there's something here. There's something amazing here. And we just went over only wisdom and present. There's other stuff that we will dive deep in. And let's go to the next page. I don't want to spend too much time here. All right. So for the next one, let's make some clarification on the seven holistic wealth so that we can understand it a little bit better. And I'm gonna write this in a larger word too. So for the seven holistic wealth, yeah, I'm going to break it to two category because it is quite important to make this differentiation. So let's go ahead and write it first. All right, right on top here, I would like to invite you to write the word. Let's start with wisdom. Wisdom. And all right, underneath, let's write the word presence. So PRESENCE. And then right underneath, let's write the word virtue. Virtue. Then let's write the word nobility. I write it wrong. there. All right, and let's call this group here immaterial. Okay, M material. This is what we will focus on. These 4 out of the 7 holistic wealth. Okay, so it is wisdom, presence, virtue, nobility. And if you can help me look at this lit house, I'm gonna highlight the 4 that we will focus in on for our journey, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Okay, so it will be the bottom half of the house. Okay, so these are the immaterial group. And what do I mean by immaterial? Immaterial is something not tangible, right? Because you cannot measure it, you cannot grab it. Because, for example, virtue, what is virtue? Virtue is or are attitudes, a disposition or character traits that enable us to be or act in a way that develop our potential, and they enable us to pursue ideas we have adopted, like honesty, courage, compassion, generosity, fidelity, integrity, fairness, self-control, and many more. That is virtue. You can't really measure that. Similarly, wisdom, what is wisdom? Wisdom is the body of knowledge and principle that develop within a specific society or period. You can't really measure that either. It's immeasurable. It's not tangible, right? What about nobility? Nobility is kind of like the qualities of a group of people that generally very admirable, like honesty, generosity, courage, and you can't really measure that. But nobility had great influence on our relationship with other. It's helped build relationship. We can't measure that. Present is a little bit interesting because, like I mentioned earlier, present is kind of hard to measure. It is an immaterial thing, but at the same time, you can feel it. You can kind of have like a sense of it when a person walk in a room, or you can kind of like measure how effective they do. In the case of Mr. Donald Trump, for example, that I mentioned earlier, the second that he decided to have the presence in real estate, and he was able to make $3 billion in 3 years. So those are kind of like a measurement that we can somewhat measure. And this is part of the reason why I often mention presence when I talk about the 7 holistic wealth, because even though an im it is in the immaterial group, but it's still kind of like measurable. It is kind of like a material thing. And understanding present, we can explore wisdom, right? And after we can explore wisdom, we can have a greater understanding of virtue, and then we can connect it to nobility. So there is kind of like a very interesting way to uh, to explore the seven holistic wealth. And on this note, we are all different. We are from a different background. And I know that there are things that I have that you might not have, and there are things that you might have, you are very strong at, and I don't have, which is perfectly fine. We all have to start from somewhere. And because of the differences in our background, we all can start from somewhere. So, for example, let's say you have a very good physique, which is your physical being, like Ronaldo, for example, that I mentioned earlier. He had a very good physique for being a great soccer player, and he can start there. He can start making money using his skill, so he can work on his material. He can, because of his physique, he can work on his capability of being a great soccer player. And from there, he can expand that to his presence, which is a great soccer player. And you see, slowly, instead of just having one out of the seven holistic wealth, now Ronaldo had four out of the seven of the holistic wealth. And from there, he can expand it to wisdom, he can expand it to virtue, he can expand it to nobility. So all seven of this is interconnected, and you can start from one and expand it to other. But the trick is you have to know of it existence in order to explore it, in order to expand it. Let's see another example. Okay, let's say a young boy. He uh, he doesn't know much. He doesn't know anything, but he inherit a lot of money from his family. He got the material. He got the money, but he's not very strong. He isn't capable of doing anything. But that is where he started. He just had money. And it is a beginning as well, right? He can use that money to learn, to go to school, to learn some wisdom, and then from that wisdom, he have a better understanding of virtue, and there he start to build relationship. He have nobility, and from there, he is capable of building relationship, making business deal, right? And he would have five out of seven, and slowly he will be able to build his presence in his business. So he might not have the greatest physical health like Ronaldo, but he started from somewhere, and slowly he can have fulfilling that seven holistic well. And he might not be strong at first, but of course he can spend time and money to be healthier, right? To work on his physical health, to work on his look, and he can have the physique as well. And he will, if he make the conscious decision to work on all seven at the same time, he will achieve the seven holistic wealth. And you know what? Seven holistic wealth is equal to holistic life. That is what our end goal is. So let's go ahead and write that down here. Seven holistic wealth equal to holistic life. And I know I'm running out of time, so let's let's move on to the next part because the next part is very important as well. Last season I got too excited here, and we have to talk about the second half the next day. But let's not do that. Let's write down the other three holistic wealth and put them in one group. And the next three would be capability and physique, PHYSIQUE, and then material, MATER. And these, we are going to put them in the material group. MATERAL. All right, you might ask the question that Ben, like, why do you put material here and then there's material in the group of the material? That doesn't make any sense, right? But hold on, let me clarify. The materials here is a noun, right? And these are like the house that you own, the car that you own, the clothes that you wear, your money. It is a noun, like a material thing. The material that I meant over here is an adjective. So this is like a group of capability and then physique and the material thing that you own. And the reason that, yes, this can be tangible, and that's the entire thing about being material because you can actually measure it. For example, and thanks not for pointing that out, because let's say your material things, how much money you have, it can be measurable. How many houses you have, how many cars you have, that can be tangible, that can be measured. Or your capability, you can measure that. You can compare one person capability compared to other. And same thing for physique, right? Like how fast can you run, your physique, like how tall is Ronaldo compared to Messi, for example. So those are the things that is very much tangible, like what Ngok said here, something that you can measure, something that you can measure. And the reason that we are dividing uh, the seven holistic well into groups is exactly what Ngok just mentioned here. The material we can measure, immaterial we can't really measure it. And there's one very important thing that we got to learn when it's come to the seven holistic wealth, and that is we want to materialize the immaterial, and we want to immaterialize material. In fact, we want to do all of it. Okay, for all things immaterial, we're gonna materialize it. For all material things, we will immaterialize it. When I first heard of this, I was like, what are you talking about? This, like, why do you even have to do that? Like, how can you immaterialize your material, right? How can you immaterialize $1 million, for example? Like, how does that make sense at all? But I was shown that it was very important to do so, because if you look at a limited feature item like a Gucci bag, for example, it doesn't cost that much to make, but people will spend thousands of dollars to purchase it. or a Rolex watch, for example, right, is doesn't cost that much to make, but because they only make a few watches every year, they was able to sell it for $1,000, if not tens of thousands of dollars. Some watches even cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the reason that it cost so much was because they immaterialized the material. They adding like the immaterial things in it. For example, one of my friends told me that, you know what, Ben, like I don't even have money. I don't even have that money to spend on a nice watch. But because of the nature of my business, I sell house, so I talk to I have to meet and talk to my wealthy client all the time, and just dressing up nice and have a nice watch on is kind of increase my value, is get me to that social club, and it's helped me sell more expensive house, and therefore I make more money. And to me, that is an investment that people just don't understand, but it is very, very necessary. And that is when I realized, you know what, he was right. He was it was very important to differentiate that. So if you are in sell, or if you are in services, like it is extremely important to add the material thing to your material, because you will be able to increase the value of it. Or let's say when you uh, when you want to do something nice with to for your family and loved one, right? Let's say you buying them their favorite food, but instead of just like give it to them, like here it is, just eat it. I bought it. There you go. We can tell them how we was very busy, and we thought of them and how much we love them. So we take the time. We have to drive across town to buy this because we love them so much that we want them to enjoy this this meal, enjoy this food that not only it tastes amazing, but it's also good for their health. So that's another way to add the immaterial value to the material. And another example that I would like to give you in a quick, like 3 minutes. And if you have question, you can share as well. I'll see if I can answer it. But the story that I really wanted to share is something that I mentioned from last season as well. There, there's a book that I have read, and it is called the uh, the Millionaire Mindset, I think. And in that book, it said that in order to make $1 million, you have to be a millionaire first. I didn't understand what he meant like that back then, because I thought you have to have a $1 million in order to be called a millionaire, right? That's the very basic. But what the author was trying to express is very different. He was already a millionaire, and he is trying to help other people to becoming a millionaire just like him. And of course, he cannot just like give them $1 million. He would go broke, right? So what he does is that he immaterial the information of how to make $1 million. So instead of trying to chase the money, he provided the reader, the author was providing the reader things that they can do to be a millionaire first, and they will be able to make that $1 million. For example, they needed to wake up early in the morning, let's say 5 a.m. in the morning, to have the ritual, the right ritual done. They have to have the right relationship. They have to have the right mindset. They have to have the right attitude. So they have to be able to get all of that information. They have to be able to generate that energy, and through the right information and the right energy of a millionaire, they will be able to make $1 million. And this is the beautiful thing about it, because as I mentioned earlier, of the importance of the seven holistic wealth, right? It's easy for people to understand material things like houses, cars, but it is very difficult to understand what virtue is. It is difficult to understand what wisdom is, nobility or presence. But if we can materialize these immaterial things, people can understand it better, right? And I hope that my story of Mr. Donald Trump about the presence of Ronaldo, you have somewhat a good idea of what it means to have a presence, right? So what I did there was I materialized the definition of presence. That way it is no longer intangible. It's becoming tangible, which means you can measure it, you can feel it, and you can own it. And besides giving it more value by materialize the immaterial things or immaterialize the material things, we have a greater understanding of it. We will know the information of it. We will know exactly what the energy of it is. And having those information, we will be able to materialize anything we wanted. And that is the power. Okay. Just like what Donald Trump did with his $1 billion. He had the information. He knows the energy needed to materialize that $1 billion. And he did it. And my friend, that is the power of the seven holistic wealth, which is equal to the holistic life, the immaterial group and the material group. And that's it for today's presentation. We 2 minutes went over time, and like always, I'm gonna go out with some music. Usually, I like to keep the presentation within 1 hour, because my friends in the U.S. has to get ready to go to work, and my friends in Vietnam had to go to sleep. So, and we're gonna see each other every day. So if you have a question or if you have something that you would love to share, come back tomorrow. Let's talk again tomorrow. And I am super excited for tomorrow's topic as well. So let me go ahead and play a song for us to go out with a song.